Hey there, my friend. Let's kick this off by diving straight into what's got Cowboys Nation buzzing. Wide receiver Jaylen Tolbert is reportedly on the trade block. That's right. After 2 seasons in Dallas, the former third-round pick out of South Alabama might be heading out, and the rumor mill is heating up fast. Now, let's be honest. When the Cowboys drafted Tolbert in 2022, the expectation was that he'd be a solid contributor in the passing game, maybe even a future WR2. But things haven't exactly worked out that way, have they? Between adjusting to the NFL, competing for snaps behind guys like CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, and inconsistent quarterback play, Tolbert just hasn't been able to carve out a consistent role. Still, in 2023, we did see some flashes. He made a few clutch catches, showed some route-running growth, and looked more confident. That uptick in performance is likely why other teams are sniffing around. From what's being reported, the Cowboys have received multiple inquiries from teams looking to add depth at wide receiver, and Tolbert's name keeps coming up. What's interesting is how strategic this moment is. The Cowboys are reshuffling the wide receiver room after parting ways with Brandon Cooks and not adding a veteran replacement yet. They're also banking heavily on young guys stepping up. So why would they be open to moving Tolbert now? Here's where you come in. Do you think the Cowboys should actually trade Jaylen Tolbert? Or is this a move they'd regret later? Hit the comments and let me know. Also, vote in our quick poll. Keep Tolbert or trade him? This is just the start, though, because in the next chapter we're breaking down the teams that are seriously interested in Tolbert. And trust me, there are a few intriguing names on that list, including some playoff contenders who see him as a legit fit. So stick with me. We're just getting warmed up. All right, now that we know Jaylen Tolbert is drawing interest, the big question becomes, who's picking up the phone and calling the Cowboys? From what's been circulating around league sources, a few teams stand out. Let's start with the New England Patriots. They're in desperate need of receiver help, especially after their passing game ranked near the bottom of the league last season. Tolbert's upside, youth, and affordable contract make him an intriguing fit for a team like New England, which is still rebuilding its offense under new leadership. A fresh start there could make sense. Next, keep your eyes on the Carolina Panthers. They've been quietly looking for a low-risk, high-reward addition to help support Bryce Young, and Tolbert fits that mold. He wouldn't have to come in and be the WR1, but he could offer more versatility than some of their current depth pieces. Plus, Carolina has had a history of taking chances on young receivers from other teams' depth charts. Another team that's been mentioned, the Los Angeles Chargers. Kellen Moore, who's now running their offense, knows Tolbert well from his time in Dallas. And with the Chargers letting go of both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams this offseason, there's plenty of room for a player like Tolbert to slide in and compete. Don't overlook that connection. It might just be the most natural fit out there. And lastly, there's always the wild card option. Teams like the Baltimore Ravens or Buffalo Bills. Contenders who might be looking to shore up their WR depth heading into the season. Those kinds of teams often love grabbing players with upside like Tolbert when the price is right. So I want to know, which team do you think would be the best landing spot for Jaylen Tolbert? Drop it in the comments. If you had to choose one, Patriots, Panthers, Chargers, or someone else? Also, quick vote. Would you trade Tolbert to a playoff team for a 5th-round pick or hold out for more? Now, in the next chapter, let's flip the perspective. What would the Cowboys even want back in a deal like this? Picks? A player? Cap space? Let's talk about it. So now that we've talked about which teams might want Jaylen Tolbert, let's shift the focus back to the Cowboys. What exactly would Dallas be looking for in return if they did pull the trigger on a trade? Let's be honest, the Cowboys aren't giving Tolbert away for nothing. He's still on a rookie contract, has flashed in camp and preseason, and offers WR3 or WR4 upside, but realistically he hasn't proven enough in regular season action to command a high return. So, what does that mean? Think mid to late round draft capital. A 5th-round pick feels like the baseline. That's what a lot of league insiders are floating out there. It's enough to recoup some value for a former 3rd-round pick. while also giving Dallas flexibility to reload in next year's draft. If the Cowboys get offered a fourth, that might actually be enough to close the deal quickly. Another option, a player-for-player swap. Dallas could look to trade Tolbert for help at positions of need, maybe an interior offensive lineman, a depth corner, or even a young linebacker. These types of trades don't happen often, but if the right GM calls, it's on the table. And let's not forget the financial side. While Tolbert's contract is cheap, the Cowboys are working under tight cap constraints. Moving him might free up a roster spot and a small bit of cap flexibility heading into camp. It's not a major factor, but it's part of the equation. Now, here's where I want your take. Would you trade Tolbert for a fifth-rounder right now or hold out and hope he finally breaks out this season? Let me know in the comments. Also, do you think the Cowboys should be targeting a specific position in return, like guard or cornerback? Let's get the conversation going. Next up, we'll get into the biggest debate of them all. Should the Cowboys even trade Jaylen Tolbert at all? Or is this something they'll regret down the road? Stick with me. All right, now we've reached the big question. Should the Cowboys even consider trading Jaylen Tolbert in the first place? It's a tough call, and I get both sides of the debate. On one hand, the Cowboys are trying to compete right now. They've got a roster that's built to win, a defense that can dominate, and an offense that, if everything clicks, can put up serious points. If Tolbert isn't going to see significant snaps behind CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and a potential WR2 trade target, maybe it makes sense to flip him for help elsewhere. But here's the thing. What if this is the year Tolbert actually breaks out? He's entering year 3, the same year we've seen a lot of wide receivers finally turn the corner. He's looked more confident in OTAs. Coaches have praised his work ethic. And with Michael Gallup gone, the WR3 spot is up for grabs. If the Cowboys do end up missing on a trade, or if someone gets hurt in camp, Tolbert might be their next best option. Trading him now could come back to bite them, especially if he goes on to thrive somewhere else. And don't forget, depth matters. We've seen how quickly injuries can pile up in the NFL. Having a fourth or fifth receiver you trust can be the difference between staying afloat and sinking in November. So here's where I turn to you. Are you in the keep him and develop him camp? Or do you think it's time for Dallas to cut bait and get what they can? Drop your opinion in the comments. I'll be reading. And hey, while you're at it, vote in our poll. Should the Cowboys trade Jaylen Tolbert before the season starts? Yes or no? Coming up next, we'll wrap things up by looking at how a potential Tolbert trade could impact the rest of the wide receiver room in Dallas. You might be surprised who could benefit most from a deal like this. So if the Cowboys actually do decide to trade Jaylen Tolbert, what happens next? Who steps up, and how does it shift the dynamic in the wide receiver room? Let's talk about the ripple effect. First up, Cavante Turpin. We already know the Cowboys are planning to expand his role this season, especially on offense. Without Tolbert, Turpin could see more offensive snaps. Not just as a gadget guy, but in legitimate passing situations. And if he builds off what we saw last year, he could become that sneaky WR4 who stretches the field or creates mismatches underneath. Then there's Jalen Brooks, the second-year man out of South Carolina. He's a bigger-bodied receiver, more in the mold of a possession guy, and he flashed some potential last preseason. With Tolbert gone, Brooks could be in line for more reps with the second team and possibly carve out a role for himself. And don't forget the undrafted rookie to watch, Ryan Flournoy. The Cowboys clearly saw something in him. He's physical, fast, and has a chip on his shoulder. If Tolbert gets dealt, that opens the door for a dark horse like Flournoy to rise during training camp in the preseason. The bigger question, though, is this. Would trading Tolbert make the Cowboys too thin at receiver? It's one thing to have confidence in young talent. It's another to rely on unproven guys if injuries hit. Brandon Cooks isn't getting younger, and we've seen how fragile depth can be. So maybe the better move is to wait until mid-preseason, see how the roster shakes out, and then make a decision. That way, you're not pulling the plug on a potential breakout season before it even starts. All right, I want your final take. If the Cowboys trade Tolbert, who's the biggest winner in the WR? Room? Is it Turpin, Brooks, or someone else entirely? Drop your thoughts below. I'm curious to hear what you're seeing. And hey, thanks for sticking with me through this full breakdown. There's never a dull moment in Cowboys Nation, right?